I just realized I forgot to put on mascara. Hello, my name is Monica. I'm a beauty and skincare enthusiast. I also am a YouTube enthusiast and now amateur. I consume a lot of content in this space, and so I thought I'd try my hand at making some. I posted a couple videos, feel free to check those out, and I have very few subscribers, but one very lovely one suggested that I do the palette tag, which I thought is a perfect way to get to know my collection, because if I were to do a palette declutter, it'd be kind of disingenuous. My palette collection is already slashed down to exactly where I like it, and I do have some palettes that are in limbo right now, already decluttered, that I plan to give away, but they've already been decluttered. So doing a declutter would be a poor option to get to know my collection, and it's also a little bit bigger than the other parts of my collection. So I think that this tag, the palette tag created by, I believe, Samantha March and Allie Glines, I'll link them both below. I was personally inspired by Jessica Braun and as well as Kelly Gooch, and I'll link their videos below. I just thought this was a really fun idea, and I hope that you find it entertaining. I want to start off with the disclaimer right away. My palette collection is probably the most exorbitant part of my collection, which I'm not embarrassed by. It's to my taste, and it's grown this way over a couple of years now, so I want to put that out there, not with an air of embarrassment, but just to let you know up front, yes, I know these palettes are on the more expensive side and less on the drugstore side. There's parts of my collection that I love to go drugstore, and then my palette collection is one place where I love to go high-end, even luxury. So get ready for some of that, a little bit of sneak peek type teaser. I also wanted to just throw in here that if watching somebody's collection that is a little bit more on the pricey side makes you feel like, oh, they said it's so good, so I must have to save up for it or whatever. I don't ever want to spread that message of consumerism. These are products that I put my time and energy into researching. I have tried them out and made sure that they're a good fit for me. I'm not shy about returning things that are not a good fit for me. If they're in my collection, I want them to serve a purpose and be useful. So maybe just take a look inward at your own collection and try to find those parts of your collection that resonate with my collection, in the sense of similar shades, similar textures, similar color stories, and see if you might already have things in your collection before you go out and buy more palettes. So that all said, let's jump into it and start off with the first question, or the first part of the tag, the first question in the tag, I don't know, which is my newest palette, which I don't actually have, so I'll just scooch to the side here and input a picture of it. I purchased it during the VIV sale. It's the Visart Dark Mattes palette, and it came a little broken, so a new one is coming to me. I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited to have it in my collection. However, it feels like that Raw Beauty Christie palette is such a close color story, but I do really love the Visart formula, and I'm really excited to add dark mattes into the mix, especially for fall, especially for winter. I do more often go for a natural look, but I love to do a deep vampy look every once in a while, so I think that this color story is going to fill a gap that I don't have in my collection and be really loved and be useful in that way. So moving on to the next question, which is my oldest palette. So I recently put up a video which was comparing my Urban Decay Naked 2 palette to my newer to me Natasha Denona Glam palette, and I decided to declutter my Urban Decay Naked 2, excuse me, so it's no longer in my collection, but this baby, I think, was purchased shortly after that one. It is the Makeup by Mario Master Palette or it's called the Master Palette by Mario, in collaboration with Anastasia Beverly Hills, and it's pretty old. I'll have to do research on when this came out, but I remember thinking, wow, this seems like something really special, and I wasn't really into makeup the way that I am now, but I really felt compelled to kind of save up and purchase it. And I do use this every once in a while on a date night. I'll probably not get rid of it until it's like completely bad, like the formula's gone off. But I don't mind that the shimmers are kind of more satiny. The mattes are very blendable, and they're just the right ones to build a look with. So I enjoy still having this in my collection, and it's a little special piece of makeup history that makes me smile whenever I think about it. So this is the oldest in my collection. Okay, the most expensive palette is the next question, and that is this baby, this Pat McGrath Mothership. This is the, does it say the number? I think it's the 4. Yeah, it's the 5. Okay, Mothership 5. There she is. This is the one that I felt I could get the most use out of. It is the one that has the red, and this rose gold copper shade is so special and cool. It's exorbitantly expensive. There's no doubt about it. It was a gift. I could have asked for something else, but I don't regret having it in my collection, but I definitely don't want to promote that these palettes are like insane and that they'll change your life. If you're a makeup lover like me, then you know, if it's a special occasion and you want to go for it, go for it. If it's just in your budget, then heck yeah, go for it. But I wouldn't say that if you have other gaps in your collection and you could take that 100 and whatever, I'll put on the screen, dollars it is, and you could buy multiple other products with it, but you want to see if maybe this thing could change your life, it won't. So I love it. I like to use it. I like to look at it and have it. But yeah, honestly, you don't need it, just in case you needed to hear that. So this is the most expensive in my collection. I do have a couple other palettes that are around the same price, so we'll get to those, and some of those fit some other categories that we'll get to in a second. The next question is the most affordable palette in my collection, and it's actually, I don't even know if this is considered drugstore. I know they have it at Ulta, but I don't know if they have these specific palettes at Ulta. I'll have to look up what it's going for right now, but this is the Going Coconuts, and I also wanted to mention the Brown Sugar, which is Karuchi X Colourpop. This one as well. I think that these palettes perform great. I think that they often have awesome color stories, especially if you are looking for whatever you're looking for, whether you're looking for basics or for color. Colourpop really is a brand to look at and check out, ordering either online or in store, trying to check out what they have at Ulta, for example, beforehand. I really think you can't go wrong. So these are the most affordable, and I really enjoy having them in my collection, and I reach for them often. So for my everyday palette, I decided to talk about this one right here, which is the Supreme Nudes by Artist Couture. This is newer. I got it during a sale for half off, and I was interested in getting this palette to replace a one that's a lot older, actually. I'm gonna see if I can grab that. Okay, I can't find it. It's a old limited edition NARS palette, and it had a somewhat similar color story to this one. I picked this up just on a whim. I've heard a lot of people really enjoy it, and I thought that it could be a good everyday palette. These colors right here are something that I'm really excited about. I've used it a couple times. I used it today. Let me do a close-up here. First of all, mustache sweat. Second of all, I just realized I forgot to put on mascara. Yeah, okay. Oops. Don't think I'm gonna do anything about it. I'm just gonna continue on. Okay, so I used this today. I've used it a couple of times, and I think it is the epitome of an everyday palette. It has some more beautiful shimmer tones for the lids. It has great mattes, especially if you have more tan skin. I think this is going to be lovely. One thing it is missing is a shimmery highlight for a more pale complexion like mine, but I'll just use whatever highlight that I happen to have on my face in the inner corner, which is what I did today. And I think it's great. It's newer to my collection, but I thought I would throw it in here as an everyday palette because that's what I purchased it with, the intention of using it as something to grab just as a no-brainer. More brown tones, natural. You could go bold. There's a range of light to dark in here. I often like to grab a separate single shadow for a shimmer, so these are some builder shades right here for me, and then add on a single shadow. So this one was my pick for everyday palette. Okay, I had to put on mascara. What the heck was I thinking? So I'm gonna continue on, and we have the next category being my most colorful palette. That is another one that's new to my collection and that I picked up during the Sephora sale, and it is this gorgeous Visart Grand Pro 2. I'll just leave the cover on. Here we go. It is all texture, all shimmer, and it is all colorful. I'm really excited. I think this is going to fill a lot of gaps, and even though it was a pricey palette, it's going to be a good investment, basically, where oftentimes palettes will come out and they have one beautiful color that's kind of like that, or a pop of purple, pop of blue, a beautiful gold, a beautiful green, teal, but then they'll have a bunch of other shades that I already have in my collection. So I'll be like, oh, but I want it for that one shade. Now I have that one shade, and I can more easily pass over those and be a more conscious consumer that way. So I'm excited to add this one to my collection. I have only used it once. I used one of these, not sure which, this one, and it was so beautiful. It was a really fun look, and I'm excited to see what else I can come up with this baby. Okay, next up we have my smallest palette. So that was my most colorful palette, but it was also my biggest palette. So again, just to speak on the size of it, I think it has like 30 shades, and again, it's kind of all pops, so that's really exciting. Now on to the next question, which is my smallest palette. That would be these little guys, these trios. These are the Kaja Beauty bento boxes, or little trios. This is the colorway Rosewater, and this one is Orange Blossom. These are just all shimmers. Again, I'm a sucker for pops. I love that wet glittery look on the eye. I'm not wearing something like that today, but I often do, and having something really simple going on in the crease and then a pop of color or glitter on the eye, this is a perfect way to go about that pop, either in a pink way or a orangey way. I love these, and I would pick up more of them. I do think they are pricey though for just $3 eyeshadows, but the quality is worth it. So the next one was the biggest palette, but we covered that. So let's go with the best memory palette. And for that one, I had to pick the Sultry palette from ABH, and this is a palette that I used to create a Christmas party look. I can see if I can pop some pictures, if I can find them on the screen. It was my partner's first Christmas party at a big company, and I got, you know, to be a +1, and I got all dressed up and put on lashes and everything, which is very unlike me, and this was the palette that I used that night, and it was a good time. So this is the best memory palette, definitely. Just speaking on this palette a little bit more, I know that they are coming out with it in a Christmas set. I do think that it is a beautiful palette with a lot of range as well. It's often called a cool tone palette, and it does definitely have those cool tones, but it has plenty of warm tones in here as well, and neutral tones. So I think it's pretty versatile, and I do recommend it as a great option, ABH palette. Okay, the next question is a palette that I think is worth the hype, and this palette is actually going to fit other categories as well, so I'll go over all of them. This is a Desi X Katie Friendcation palette, and not only is it a palette that I think is worth the hype, it is also my most used palette, and Jessica Braun added in 2 categories that I wanted to answer as well, and it's a favorite limited edition palette. So favorite palette that you can't get anymore. I don't believe you can get this. I see it every once in a while on a site, so if you can, I say grab it. I think that it is worth the hype. It is my most used palette. It just is, I think, the perfect collab. It's also the perfect palette for me. It has all these tones here that I can, again, like my everyday palette, pick. You can grab these like neutral builder shades and put something to build something up, and then put a pop of something else on the eye. You can create so many unique looks with this, and these special shades, this shade Just a Kiss is like one of my most reached for. That's probably what puts this in the category of most used palettes, because I'll be wanting to use this, and so I'll just use the builder shades in here that are perfect for that. I love it, highly recommend it. Now, the next question is a palette that's not worth the hype, and this one might be kind of controversial, but for me, it really holds true. That is a Biba palette from Natasha Denona. This palette was one of my first more splurgy purchases, and especially from Natasha Denona. It was one of the first ones I got from her, and I was really excited because I thought this can be my everyday palette. But I just find that the tones are a lot warmer than what they seem in photos and how they swatch in photos. On me, it just goes a lot warmer, which is fine if I want to do a warm look, but I tend to prefer a neutral or cool look. And I also find that the shimmers, which there's only 3 of them, just aren't as, they're just very metallic, and they're not that sort of glittery special formula that I really enjoy from her own formula, or from like Pat McGrath, or similar to the topper type shades that I've been talking about throughout this video. So for that reason, this one was not worth the hype for me. I heard a lot of people, especially like Kathleen Lights, talking about how this palette was just so worth it, and for me, it wasn't. I am happy to have it in my collection. I actually made the decision to splurge because I thought maybe I would use this for makeup for my friend's wedding, either on her or on me or some of the bridesmaids, and I still might do that. So I hope to get more use out of this and make this a really valuable piece of my collection, but for right now, it's just not as valuable as what I paid for it. So that's why I decided to say that this was the one that was not worth the hype. I'm gonna skip around a little bit. The next question is supposed to be favorite palette from favorite brand. I'm gonna end on that note. The question after that was most used, which was my Desi X Katie. It was fitting into multiple categories. And then the extra bonus questions that Jessica Braun included. One was a palette that's underrated. And I wanted to do that one and then end on my favorite palette from my favorite brand. So for me, the most underrated palette, since we sort of did an overrated one, let's continue with underrated. It's the Sigma Enchanted palette. This palette is so special. Not only is the color story, I think, really beautiful, but also the shadows are like impeccable quality and amazing. It is kind of pricey for, I don't know, a 16 pan palette. I think that's what it is. It's a 14 pan palette, so I think it is kind of expensive for that. But the quality is just beautiful. The color story is just beautiful. The only person who I hear talk about this palette is Kelly Gooch. She loves it, and it's right up her alley and the kind of looks that she goes for. But she inspired me to give it a go, and I think that it's lovely. For me, it kind of fills the gap of I've tried out the Huda Beauty New Nudes palette, but have just found that it was a lot browner than I thought it was based on how it's marketed and the swatches. And so I returned it, and this one really kind of fills that gap. It has these mauve-y colors that I'm looking for from that in the mattes, and then it has these incredible shimmers and topper type, so the kind of beautiful shimmers that I enjoy. So I really like this palette and think that it's underrated. Okay, now to end on my favorite palette from my favorite brand, Natasha Denona Gold palette is going to take this spot. Natasha Denona is one of my favorite eyeshadow brands. It's luxury, it's bougie, but it is just kind of unbeatable. This is the gold palette, and let's see, yeah, that's better. I don't want to accidentally scrape it or something, but it's just a beautiful color story. It's got those mustard colors, it's got the golds, it's got a variety of golds. Before I had this in my collection, I didn't have very many golds. And now I don't really need another palette that has golds. This one really is something special and beautiful. Again, there's dupes of this palette, companies that dupe it. Maybe go for that if this isn't in your price range. But if it is, I think that that you can't go wrong. It's enjoyable. I used this for taking some Christmas photos last year, so I'll see if I can pop up a photo of the look that I created. But just in general, I love the blue and the tealy blue. I love the mustards, and I love the browns and golds in here. I just think this is a special palette. Okay, that is all the questions. That is a lot of my palette collection. You got to know a bit of my taste and what I enjoy, and the palettes that make up part of my collection here. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it was just kind of fun to get to know my preferences a little more and what I think about the different palettes that remain in my collection right now. If you enjoyed it, please let me know by liking the video. Please subscribe and share it. If you have any constructive criticism for me, definitely leave it below. I'm happy to engage with you in the comments, and I hope to see you in another video soon. Have a great day.